Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to library. As you can see, I'm not here today. And so Miss Schaefer is here to teach you and be with you in the library today. But our goal today is to talk about the 2019 Reading Challenge again and to set goals for our year of reading together. And I thought that maybe it might be hard for her to help you write goals unless she knew what our reading challenge was all about. So I thought it might just be easier for me to make a quick video explaining to you what your task is for today so that you hear it from me, just like all the other classes did this week. And that way you're on par with what everyone else has accomplished. So last week we talked about our readers challenge. We talked about where it came from and why it was designed the way that it was. I shared with you some of the hard things that I discovered about reading for a 50-book challenge last year, and then why I created the 18 different categories that you are being asked to read in this year. So your job today is going to be to write your goal statement. And I want you to think before you do. I want you to think of writing a goal that will challenge you, but also be easy for you to attain and to meet. Because if we set this big, hairy goal that we never actually reach, it's a year of struggling and not reaching the goals that we set for ourselves. So I want you to set a goal that you think you'll be able to reach, but also a goal that challenges you or has some challenge for you throughout the year. So for example, if you were a kid who only read 3 books last year and you didn't really love any of them, and it was a struggle for you to read them because you're not much of a reader, you don't want to set a goal today for you to read 25 books this year because you're likely not to, and you're likely to struggle with that, and then you're likely to fail. So I would rather, if that's you, if you read 2 books last year and you didn't really love either of them, maybe set a goal for just getting into the habit of reading. Like, I want to read 5 books this year, and it doesn't matter which category they're in, but I want to pick 5 categories to read in, and my goal this year is 5 books. And you're really focusing on just getting the habit of reading going. If you're a person who's a wild and crazy reader and you read all the time and you would read 1,000,000 books this year, even if I had never challenged you with this readers challenge, then you're not really in the game for reading for volume. Like, you already read a lot on your own. That's not your goal. Maybe your goal should be more about the habits and thinking, okay, I read all the time anyway. This year, my goal is to read in some of these more deep and meaningful ways to stretch me as a reader. And so your goal might be based more on the habits and the challenge categories than of reading a specific number. Okay, so today you're going to write a statement, a goal statement, and your goal should be worded in a way that is specific so you know if you've met it. So you might say something like, my goal is to read 1 book in every category. And that would mean like 18 books this year. Maybe your goal, mine is to read 2 books in every category. That's 36 books this year. Maybe your goal is, I want to read 5 books this year, but I only want to read them in 1 category. Or I want to read 5 books this year, but I want to read them in all different categories. Okay. Maybe you pick, maybe you say, I want to read 10 books this year in all different categories. And I'm going to choose them as I go throughout the year, like reading one book in each category as the year goes on, and I decide what I want. So you can write it however you want, but I want it to be specific. So don't say something like, read lots of books in many categories, right? What's lots? What's many? That's too vague and too open. So be really specific. I want to read 3 books in these 4 categories. Okay, so your job today is to have your goal statement written across the top of your readers challenge. Your name should be on it, and you should have your goal written clearly across the top. As soon as you're done, raise your hand for Miss Schaefer to come by and double check your goal. If she gives you the thumbs up and the green light that your goal sounds great, then you can start going back into the log back here and adding all the books that you've read this year in this school year. You can count read alouds, you can count book clubs, you can count books you read on your own. But the job here is to write the books down and then decide which category you're going to count them as. So be strategic, like which category am I going to count this book as, because that's taking the spot of another book maybe later down the road. So really strategize which category you're putting each of those books in. Any extra time, you can use the crayons and colored pencils in the center of your table to write the title of the book that you decided to go in this category, and then color it in if you like. Coloring is optional. You don't have to do that, but you can start working on some of these cherry on top things. This is your task for today. You cannot go bookshop today until you've written your goal statement and had it checked by Miss Schaefer. As soon as that's done and she says you're good to go, then you can move on into book shopping or working on finishing or starting to update your reading log. Okay? These will be collected and given to your teacher to refer back to all year long as we continue reading and as we do things in the library this year. Okay, guys, I think that's it. I'm sorry to have missed you today, although I know you're in great hands with Miss Schofer. I always wish that I could be there on days when we talk about Reading Challenge, because it's the beginning of all the work that we'll do this year. So take it seriously, write a really focused goal that excites you and that challenges you, and do your very best work. I'll see you next week. Bye.